Welcome to ThinkTech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm your host, Duke Oishi.
And I'm your co-host, Maria Kashem.
In our show this time, we'll take a tour of the beautiful new Sullivan Center for Innovation and Leadership at Iolani School.
And we'll meet the all-girls science team that has just come back from the Super Science Fair in Ritsumeikan University in Japan.
First, we took a walk around the courtyard, the ball field, and the huge new bird statue opposite the entry to the Sullivan Center. It's the Io bird. After all, Iolani means heavenly bird in Hawaiian. Indeed, Queen Emma bestowed the name Iolani on the school. The statue was designed and built with help from students and Mr. Ryan Roberts of the art department. Its eyes light up and glow red at night.
Today we're going to be looking at our new building. It's the Sullivan Center for Innovation and Leadership that will help Iolani students learn more about things that aren't necessarily inside the classroom, like the general lectures and tests, but more hands-on stuff like fabrication and making iPad apps. Well, the first floor we have a robotics room, which is for our growing robotics program because we want to do good in robotics, but also teach kids how to solve problems in the real world using robotics. And also on the first floor is our senior benches, which we destroyed to make room for the building, which is kind of like the seniors' special place where none of the little dwarfy, twerky underclassmen like me can go bother them. And on the second floor we have our library, which we also destroyed to make room for the building. But our library now has a lot of study spaces where students can go and study after school. And we also have flexible project spaces and collaboration spaces where students can come together in groups and work on projects. And the third floor has another really big flexible space, which is just a large floor with a bunch of rolly tables and rolly chairs where students can work or just take a break from schoolwork. And also on the third floor is a lot of computer labs where we work on computer projects. Like we have courses like Java and AP Computer, where you learn about how computers work and how to program. And also there we have a seminar room, which we can use for lectures or if students want to give presentations. And on the fourth floor, we have my favorite place is the wet labs, which is for science, and we let students use wet labs for just science fair projects, which is kind of my thing here. And also we have another really big flexible project space, but also rooftop gardens in which we will grow vegetables. Students will grow vegetables and use them in the cafeteria. A long time ago in Iolani, we had a large statue that kind of looked like that, but not quite. It was a large Io bird, which is a heavenly hawk in Hawaiian. And so that's our new Io bird, which we just got a few weeks ago. Students and Mr. Roberts made it, and it's really cool because at night the eyes glow red. My father takes a group of students every year to go to a super science fair in Japan, always at Ritsumeikan University, in which, what Ritsumeikan does is it takes a bunch of teams from around the world. So there's a team from Europe, there's a bunch of teams from Europe, there's 2 from Hawaii, there's 1 from Iran. So there's a team from India and Australia. So there's a lot of different teams that come together every year and they make a project, a science fair-like project in their school, and then they bring it to Japan and present it to the rest of the world. It's not a graded thing necessarily. There's no judging or anything. It's just to come together and share your ideas throughout the world. All the groups that go absolutely loved it. Some say it's the best week of their life, so I really want to do it hopefully this year or maybe next year. Right now I'm the freshman class president, so thinking about a leadership position later on in life, but I'm also working on a lot of science and taking a lot of hard classes at Iolani. I think it's really great that they spend so much money on things like this giant building that's just for this $23 million building that's for coming together and collaborating on projects and for science. And they also have really good food. I really like their food.
Then we took a tour of the Sullivan Center. It's a sustainable building completed last August, and it includes new library and learning spaces. It's equipped with wireless and advanced technology, a student communications center, multi-use floor space, a film studio, conference rooms, and laboratory stations.
This is the 4th floor of the Sullivan Center. So if you look out there, you can have an
Fantastic
incredible view of
Yeah.
all of Diamond Head
It's a
and
million-dollar
downtown
view.
Honolulu, Waikiki.
But you can watch all the baseball games in the comfort of air conditioning. But the remarkable feature, especially of this floor, are the outdoor gardens, the rooftop gardens. And they're experimenting with a different variety of food, and hopefully soon we'll be benefiting from the harvest. Yeah, they've promised if there is a harvest that we can all partake. They use this open area as a flexible space for different classes or seminars or school events.
Or you can just hang out.
Just hang out. The kids love
Eat
to just
lunch.
hang out here, yes.
Then we met the all-star, all-girl team that had just returned from the Super Science Fair at Ritsumeikan University in Japan. Julia Kawano, Taylor Mao, Juliet Page, Rachel Riddell, and Veronica Shea. What a group.
The team had an incredible week of science and cultural immersion at the Japan Super Science Fair in Kyoto and presented their research on aerodynamics, the culmination of a year of work. They had constructed a wind tunnel and studied how dimples on surfaces affect drag. They hope their research will help in reducing fossil fuel usage in transportation.
During the trip, the team also participated in a solar-powered boat contest, a snake robot contest, and a brushbot Olympics. They attended presentations by other students and scientists from all around the world. The friendships they formed will be long-lasting.
Dr. Mark Lindsay was the team's advisor, and his wife Holly Lindsay was the team's educational coordinator. Dr. Lindsay had accompanied the team on the trip and felt the team blew everyone away with their research. One of the team members said, "We were well prepared for the presentation at Ritsumeikan. The questions they asked us were easier than the ones we got in practicing at Iolani."
The team also visited an industrial robot factory in Kyoto, where they saw engineers designing robot components and new robots undergoing final tests before being shipped.
It was great to meet the Iolani team. The first thing they did for us, you guessed it, was play some music. After all, tech includes math, and math includes music. So what could be more natural than the Super Science Fair team playing and singing some music? They were very musical and absolutely charming.
Where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like lemon drops high above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Don't wanna be a fool for you, just another player in your game for two. You may hate me, but it ain't no lie, baby. Bye, bye, bye. City never sleeps at night, it's time to begin, isn't it? I get a little bit bigger, but then I'll admit I'm just the same as I was. Now don't you understand? I'm never changing who I am, it's time to begin, isn't it? I get a little bit bigger, but then I'll admit I'm just the same as I was. Now don't you understand? I'm never changing who I am.
Then they took us to one of their classrooms and showed us the project they had done for their trip. They told us what their project was about, they showed us the wind tunnel they built, and explained their research conclusions.
Our students did a detailed research project where they constructed a wind tunnel and measured the aerodynamics of various dimpled shapes in the wind tunnel to see what the aerodynamic drag was.
Aloha, we are Iolani's team, Japan Super Science Fair. My name is Juliet Page.
I'm Veronica Shea.
I'm Julia Kawano.
I'm Rachel Riddell.
And I'm Taylor Mao.
And along with our advisor, Dr. Mark Lindsay, we're here to blow you away with our wind tunnel project.
So our research dealt with aerodynamics, and so before we actually started working, we wanted to do some background research. And we found that aerodynamics is the study of dynamics of airflow and how airflow interacts with solids.
We decided to research where dimples are most commonly found. So we looked at the history of golf balls, and the first golf ball made was the feathery cube. And this was a leather-covered golf ball with goose or chicken feathers stuffed inside.
So for our wind tunnel experiment, we 3D printed dimple faces, and we varied two aspects of our dimple faces, which was the geometry and the spacing.
So for our experimental design, we started off with a blueprint, and we made our wind tunnel. And it would be made out of 3 separate parts, which would be the contraction cone, a test center, and a diffuser.
So for our experiment, we had 2 different parts. We had a large wedge and a small wedge. The large wedge was 22 centimeters long, and the small wedge was 15 centimeters long.
In the data, geometry did make a difference in our flow simulation. The triangular produced the best results, and the far distance was the only one that had less drag than the blank.
So this is our wind tunnel. We have the 3 parts, which is the contraction cone, which has a metal mesh, and through the contraction cone, we strung a force sensor with the string, which is going through here and attached to our wedge, which would make our model windshield. We have our test center, which we can use to fix everything and put our dimples on. Then we have our, over here, I don't know if you can see, we have our straw diffuser, which straightens airflow. And then finally, we have our diffuser, which is attached to our fan. So we can turn this on.
You should take the hardest and most math and science courses you could possibly take. But I also think that you should take the hardest courses you could possibly take at your school and take the most amount of courses you could possibly take at your school. Because the more you learn, the more of a citizen of the world you'll be.
There were many international students and teachers. I really loved meeting all the international teachers from all sorts of places. I think there were, 30 countries. There were from Singapore, many from Japan. There was from India, Russia, England, Indonesia, Thailand, and various many places. It was really great to meet all these people and see how they all were dealing with the same problems teaching science. One of the countries that came was Iran. And the Iranian people, the 5 girls they had, and the 2 teachers, they were just so nice. They were just really nice people. And it was great to meet someone from Iran because, as you know, America and Iran have a bad history with each other for the past 30 or 40 years. But the Iranian people, I believe, are so nice. It's the governments that are having the problem. The Russians, they go to a special high school in Moscow where chemistry is emphasized, and the Russians have what I would describe as PhD level projects in chemistry.
We have presentations, and the presentation before us also did a wind tunnel on cars. It was really funny. We had this connection. We stood out because I think we were the most mixed kind of group. We all have different ethnicities, and it's really interesting.
I'm really proud of our team because I think we weren't just teammates, we actually became really good friends.
Sweet.
The team was impressive. We were delighted to meet them and hear about their project and their trip. Good for them and good for Iolani.
After the presentations were over, we toured the robotics laboratory in the Sullivan Center. We met Dr. Kari Inoue, who runs the program there. He has an incredible collection of new high-tech robotics equipment in his lab.
This is the robotics and fabrication room, and our teacher, and he's a physics teacher and an administrator here at Iolani School. His name is Dr. Kari Inoue.
This is our robotics classroom, robotics area. We also teach a class in design and fabrication to 9th through 12th graders. The robotics class is 7th to 8th grade class. It's also the area where the robotics team comes in and does their work, their planning and their assembly for the robotics competitions. Students actually sit down and design things on 3D CAD and take their 3D designs and plug them into a 3D printer, and in a couple hours they have that piece they designed. We also have a machine room that houses a lot of computer-controlled devices. Robotics has always been a program that has garnered a lot of interest from students. We have them starting as early as first grade, all the way up to seniors. In these robotics competitions, each year they come up with a new game, so the robot has to be able to do a variety of tasks, but very specific tasks. We are planning in the future, near future, hopefully next year, a kind of an engineering type of course where the projects may very well involve some sort of robots. Currently in our 7th, 8th grade robotics class, we have 25 students, and each has built his or her own robot. You can see them boxes lined up back there. But they come in every day, and they have built their robots. They have to wire their own robots. They have to do the programming for the robots as well. Quite challenging for 7th and 8th graders, but they love it. A lot is happening, and where it will eventually lead, no one really knows, but I think that sometime in everyone's future, the need to actually fabricate, design, will become important skills. So learn it early and learn it well.
Tons of my friends do robotics, like more than half of my friends do robotics. And they love it. They absolutely love it. And they really like making things and solving problems and learning how to code and engineer.
This is the Epilog Legend 120 laser cutter, which Iolani has just recently got in our new robotics shop. And it's really cool. It has a CO2 laser, which actually cuts anything in 2 dimensions. And you can control it with a computer. You make a drawing on a computer drawing program, and then this acts as the printer rather than a paper printer. It prints by cutting wood or metal or paper or practically anything. It will cut it with a 120 watt CO2 laser. And so you can see there's a little red dot in there. That's where the laser is going to go, and the laser cutter moves back and forth and cuts various shapes, as you can see here, okay? And now it's focusing, and pretty soon it's going to start cutting. And you'll see bright flashes where the laser cuts into this cardboard, which we have in there. And so this is cutting a box. This is a box with serrated, a side of a box with serrated teeth, so it will fit together, sort of. This is the 1/8 inch birch plywood that the laser cutter will cut in the same way you saw the cardboard being cut.
Thanks to Dr. Mark Lindsay, who teaches physics at Iolani, his wife Holly Lindsay, who has taught at Iolani, and their son Chris Lindsay, who is now a student at Iolani, for their help and encouragement in arranging this visit. They were great.
One thing is clear: extraordinary changes have taken place at Iolani. So many new and high-tech buildings, especially the Sullivan Center, clearly demonstrate the school's commitment to quality education in general, and especially to science and tech. It all makes you want to go back to school again. Well, not really.
When you have a chance, take a look at Iolani. It's a good example of a private school doing well in science. We enjoyed the visit and look forward to visiting again, perhaps after the Hawaii Science Fair next spring, or after the next team returns from the next Super Science Fair in Japan.
And now let's take a look at our ThinkTech calendar of events going forward.
ThinkTech streams video and audio for all its shows live on the internet from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m. every weekday, and we replay them all night long on ustream.tv. Visit thinktechhawaii.com for our live stream and YouTube links. Raise your awareness on ThinkTech. And now here's Bill Spencer, President of the Hawaii Venture Capital Association, with this week's Spensation.
Summit, Startup Paradise and Demo Day was a great event. More than 300 people showed up. The energy was palpable. There was a lot of excitement, a lot of young people, and just a very encouraging event. The biggest one, I think, that has ever been held. Based on the attendance. And I tell you, Jay, the VC Summit confirms that Hawaii is startup paradise. We've built something, and whether you believe it or not, it's a generational thing. People acknowledged the startup period of the mid-'80s with George Ariyoshi's vision for a tech economy. We may not have a tech economy, but we've got a lot of folks interested in all aspects of tech. We had a session in the morning on crowdfunding, Title II of the Jobs Act, which sort of got people thinking about how they can get their activities funded. Then we heard from some of the young Turks and some of the gray-haired guys just about the environment and what you need to do to get your business funded. And I was on that panel, which was a lot of fun. At lunch, we heard from one of the members of Google Ventures, essentially Google's venture fund, Don Dodge. And he gave a really good speech and came up with a good metaphor for what we've built here. He sort of considered it like an artificial reef, where you dump something in the ocean and then eventually some corals attach to it, and then after that the little fish start coming around, and then the bigger fish, and eventually the sharks. And he sort of likened our legacy tech people like Steve Case and Pierre Omidyar and Hank Rogers as the sharks who are coming back in not so much to eat the little fish, but to fund their ideas. And I thought that was a really nice metaphor for where we are at and what we need to do to continue to build that reef. Then we heard from the slam poet Ke Aloha, who blew people's minds. A guy, a nuclear physicist, a scientist in his own right, who's devoted his life now to poetry. He's Hawaii's poet laureate. And then in the afternoon, we had Demo Day. Demo Day was an opportunity to hear from the 7 companies that make up the second cohort of the Blue Startups Accelerator. And having been a lead mentor and worked with these kids, not all of them are kids, by the way, we worked with these guys over the last 3 months, and they just did an astounding job. And of course, there were people like Don Dodge in the audience who I'm sure talked to some of them afterwards. I think the interesting thing that Don Dodge said about venture capital, at least as far as Google's concerned, is that they're truly a financial investor. They're not a strategic investor. They're not looking to gobble up businesses that have an alignment with what Google is doing. In fact, what he said they like to see are moonshots, big ideas, global potential, but based in the United States, because they don't invest outside the United States. Anyway, I think overall the program was fantastic. We had a good reception afterwards, and people continued to be enthusiastic about Startup Paradise.
We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of ThinkTech. But first, we want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates, Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island, are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems. a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High-Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle and Cook, Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
The Foreign Trade Zone, operated by the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, encourages international trading in Hawaii and brings the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs.
Okay, Maria, that wraps up this week's edition of ThinkTech. Remember, you can watch ThinkTech on OC16 several times every week. Can't get enough of it, just like JFI Dale does. For additional times, check out oc16.tv.
Totally, Duke. For lots more ThinkTech videos and for underwriting and sponsorship opportunities on ThinkTech on OC16, visit thinktechhawaii.com. Be an underwriter, a sponsor, or a volunteer, and help us reach Hawaii.
I'm Duke Oishi. Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech. You can watch this show throughout the week and tune in next Sunday evening for our next important weekly episode. Aloha, everyone.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.